Welcome to For the Record, a podcast from the Delaware State Senate Republican Caucus, hosted by Senator Brian Pettyjohn, Chief of Staff Deanna Killen, and Communications Director Matt Revel. This is For the Record.
Okay, well, that's all.
We got a new fake plan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so as we have learned throughout this process, none of us have a green thumb, apparently.
No, the real plant that was in the corner died
Why?
because I forgot to water it.
I'm just saying.
And there's no
And
windows.
there's
There's
no
no sunlight.
We need a
Yeah.
grow lamp then.
in
Yeah.
this Delaware General Assembly, we need to change the flower that we're using. The wink wink flower, the plants. I'm just saying, Sussex
go.
County, you got to come on now. Newcastle County's already decided.
Yeah. It was just easier to buy a fake plant. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
All right,
That's what
well,
it is.
Well, on that note.
welcome back to For the Record, Deanna.
Yep. So
What do we
today
have?
is Rock Your Sock
yeah,
Day.
we're rocking
Everybody
them.
got your socks
we
on?
got our
Absolutely.
socks.
Yep.
Yep.
Celebrating people with Down syndrome today.
Yes.
It was a
So
fun
it's
one.
always a fun day.
I almost
It
thought
is.
of it. I don't know if they would have done it. A team photo that basically thanks. I'm supposed to speak into the mic, not away from the mic, and I'm into the mic. But a team photo would have been nice. You know,
We
the whole crew.
We should
That
have
would
got
have been
one.
nice, right? And I'm not talking about just Republicans. Everybody on the floor, come on down. Let's get a little photo.
Let's do that
I
next year.
guarantee if you and probably would have balked. Been like, yeah, I don't know about that. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
All right, we'll start off today with SB 219, Military Pension Exclusion Bill. This is actually
Right out the gate.
sponsored by Senator Buckson, and it's going to be an executive committee next week. So go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, it's a good bill, and that's why I'm hoping some folks, if they have interest, maybe tune in or connect with your legislators. But in essence, what it does is it looks at retirees here in Delaware, military retirees here in Delaware, and what would be taxable income on their retirement, essentially paycheck, right? Right now it's capped at $12,500. And what I offered to do was to escalate that, elevate that over a couple years up to a max of $25,000, which when you compare to other states is actually still behind the eight ball,
Yeah.
right? But at least tells those that are retiring here, those that are getting ready to retire, we'd like to have you stay, and those that maybe are wanting to come here, bring your skill sets here, right? There's no question about it when you take a military retiree. There's a certain skill set that they possess regardless of what field they choose that we want here in Delaware. And this is just another way to incentivize that. Is essentially what it does. It failed in committee the last time we presented it, but we're going to come back at it because I think it does two things. It recognizes the military retiree and the skill set, and it grows the economy because it brings skilled workers to Delaware, keeps them here, and helps us to build that workforce.
Yeah, we had a constituent reach out to one of our legislative assistants saying that they were in the process of looking to move. And then when they saw this bill, they're, of course, military. They said when they saw this bill, they're like, okay, we're watching this because if this bill passes, we're going to stay here. So it does matter. It does matter.
yeah.
It's fair, and it's going to be a challenge, right? The budget right now is, a challenge, and this doesn't require a tax increase. It creates a tax decrease, but it does cut a small hole in the budget. When you're talking about $7 billion, a $3 million, drop is something we should be able to manage if you have the vision of what it's supposed to do, which is pay itself back over time by encouraging folks to stay here. It's not just a reward, right? It's not just a reward for service, although I respect the military for what they've done. It is an economic benefit.
Right.
And it competes with other states who are taking some of our brightest workers, our hardest, highest skilled workers, and cherry picking them out of the state because they're offering this.
Yep. So everyone be on the lookout. That'll be an executive committee next week. So,
It is an executive next week. Okay, good.
yep. So, which you sit
I
on.
look forward to supporting it in committee.
Appreciate
Yes.
that. Yeah.
People can call in, show up, or submit public comment through email.
Talk to your legislator
Yep.
in your area.
Next bill, Matt actually requested that I bring this bill up, HB 63, which is relating to fireworks. And what this bill does is it tightens Delaware's firework laws by increasing fines, requiring permits for retailers, making sure consumers get clear safety information, basically just to improve safety overall. But I know you said there was a little bit of miscommunication about this bill, and you wanted to kind of clear it up.
Yeah, I mean, don't we have one of the more restrictive or most restrictive fireworks laws kind of in the region anyway?
We do.
Yeah.
The reason why I wanted to bring this up, because I've seen on social media and a lot of confusion, a lot of don't want to say misinformation, because I think it's kind of confusing anyway when
Right.
people. So back in, I think it was 2018, former Senator Bruce Ennis had a piece of legislation that would allow the sale of certain ground-based sparklers and other novelty type of, we call them fireworks colloquially, but not really fireworks. Anyway, 30 days prior to 4th of July, and then individuals would be able to use those ground-based sparklers and such on 4th of July in celebration of Independence Day. That got expanded the next year to include Diwali, and more recently to include New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Well, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day.
I think there's one more too, isn't there?
No, so it's interesting. I looked that up. So there are 4 days where it's allowed, but 2 of them is New Year's Eve and New Year's Day.
Okay.
Anyway, so what we found, and I say what we've heard is there's a lot of confusion over what's allowed. So there are individuals out there unintentionally, but violating the law by shooting off, I guess, what are fireworks.
Right.
You know, a normal firework. So what my understanding, House Bill 63 increases the fines, but it will require those pop-up vendors that you see in like the Walmart parking lot and stuff to obtain a permit to sell this stuff. They have to acquire the permit through the fire marshal's office, which currently they don't have to do, on some other stuff. But the confusion was that some folks I had seen thought this bill took away the ability to own and operate these fireworks, which is not what the intention was.
Okay.
So I thought that was just probably, we're starting to get into the spring, summer months, 4th of July is coming, thought it'd be worth maybe clarifying what that does. It passed in the Senate, the House, not unanimously. There was one Republican who voted no, and I think there was another not voting, but I'm not sure who the not voting was.
Okay, so we'll be seeing that in the Senate.
So
at some
it'll be
point.
I think it's been signed to the Corrections Public Safety Committee. So
Another committee I'm on.
yes.
So let me get this right. So there's 4 days designated where you can, not just 4th of July, shoot off the fireworks, right?
Well, the
So-
ground-based sparkler.
The ground,
Right.
the ground-based. The shooting up fireworks or the mortars, things
Right.
like that, they're not legal in Delaware, period.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just the ground-based sparklers or whatever they're called, fountains. I
Yeah,
think
that
they're
is-
fountains.
I didn't know if we were going to include drunk uncle parties or anything like that.
No, not unless their birthday is
Well,
on the 4th of July.
That's the thing. So I guess people had been
Yeah, that's right.
using them
Sure.
on the days where they weren't permitted to, which I think you should be able to. I don't know. We're in America. But
freedom.
freedom, right. But
I mean, if you can
Senator-
safely use them and not impede on someone else's
correct.
quality of life.
Right,
I just don't know if you could be doing it every Saturday, but I see it.
Well, no,
You know?
right. So anyway,
Yeah,
so
within reason.
but to Senator Pettyjohn's point, we already have one of the more restrictive fireworks laws in
Yeah.
the nation, especially in the region, but I
Right.
believe the nation as well.
Well, you know
So-
David Penrose Buckson, former governor of this state.
Oh, any relation?
Yeah, my father.
Okay.
But let me get to it. Long past that, after he's now a judge retired of sorts, he has a festive party at Potnet's. We had a little place right there on the water. Fireworks going crazy, right? Not him, just folks that were there. But my dad, having a few in him, the officers show up, and it legitimately got out of hand. And Judge Buckson, Dave Buckson, my father, and it's a fun story now, and I know the police officers had to do it. They were not happy about it. But anyway, yeah, he ended up having to go to court. So there you go. Buckson
Yeah.
name not perfect. It is what it is.
Yes, I
Just
know.
meant he was real.
Yeah, and I know that the objection to this, which I see a lot on Facebook, is people that have dogs. I guess the fireworks scare them.
objection to the practice.
Just
of-
fireworks in
yeah,
general.
Fireworks in general.
Yeah, I know that there is a group in Delaware who would probably support just banning them altogether.
Well, I mean, to that point, I got young kids. Every 4th of July, our neighbors. Maybe I shouldn't throw them under the legal bus here, but they have stuff that
Say
makes a lot
people.
of noise. Yeah. But anyway, and I kind of understand because then the girls normally would be in bed at that point. But
Right.
But I mean, either way, you can hire a professional company to do fireworks anytime you want.
true.
So it's not like fireworks are completely banned. A licensed company can
Right.
come and shoot them off as long as you pay for them.
I think that's
Anybody,
awesome.
so I could hire a licensed company
you
to
can
come to
hire
my
any
house
licensed
and have
company
a
to
party.
do it. Absolutely.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
That's good to know.
Or micro wrestling.
There you go.
Or to that.
Maybe we'll have fireworks for that. All right, let's move on past
Yes.
that subject.
The card that you
Changing
have.
subjects now.
Blake, if you could double check me on this, SB 232, I think that was signed out of committee last week, but I wanted to talk about it last week, but forgot. Senator Wilson introduced a bill that makes criminal mischief a Class F felony if someone intentionally damages an authorized emergency vehicle. And this was basically brought on, some of you may remember, in 2023. Multiple fire companies were responding to a fire in Greenwood. And I guess some kids threw rocks at the vehicles while they were responding, busted windshields and all of that.
Yeah.
But was it signed out of committee, Blake? Yes, it was. So we should be seeing that on the Senate agenda soon. I know there was one Democrat legislator who had issues with it being, elevated to a felony. I don't know if it will pass. And, to their credit, they didn't say it had nothing to do with their respect for, first responders. They just didn't think it warranted a felony.
A felony.
Right. So I guess everyone will have to vote on whether they think it warrants that or not.
Well, I think the logical question, right? So you got to separate fire companies. We all support emergency providers, whatever. Was it a deliberate intent against them, or was it just criminal mischief? Was it mischief? Whether it was was it a targeted act against a fire company, or was it just a random act and it was fire company vehicles?
And the question becomes as well, does it delay response to an emergency
Right.
situation,
Now, that's a
a
fair
life and death
statement.
situation?
Yeah.
And I
No,
think
that's a
that's
fair
why
statement. Yeah.
that was the intent of this, because, what if it made the vehicle inoperable, the house is burning down, people are waiting for, so it can be an issue. And it does say
Or
that
it
it's
causes-
intentional.
Yeah, or it causes injury to somebody that's in that vehicle. Yeah.
Right.
But that's where I say, whether it's grandmom driving down the road or first responder. But when you say that, that's why you ask the question. So
Yeah.
you better understand the bill that you're working on to make sure it's a good bill to pass.
Right.
And not just name only, not just kind of general.
Yep.
So.
And again, just to reiterate, it is for authorized emergency vehicles
Right.
responding
Yeah,
during
to-
an
yeah.
actual emergency.
Got you. There you go. So that's even more. I don't know the bill.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll be seeing it in the Senate hopefully soon.
Has he asked for it to be on the agenda?
I'm not sure if he has or not.
Okay.
I don't think I've seen an email come through, but
Yeah, I
I'll
haven't
remind
seen
him.
it.
We could see it next week.
Okay.
Next week will be our last week before we break for 2 weeks. SB 255, we talked about this a little bit last week, but I think we just need to clarify a little bit about what happened since then. I brought up the window tint bill last week, your bill. We stated that DMV and DSP supported, which was an actual true statement. They did support, but then DSP came back and they actually read the tint wrong. The percentage is wrong.
Oh.
And so
They read it in reverse?
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of throw that over to you to talk about where it stands now.
Just for context, this was an attempt to loosen up restrictions that Delaware has that are unique to Delaware. In other words, most of the country isn't that restrictive. Not all, but most. Most allow Delawareans and Americans to have more freedom of choice when it comes to window tint. You don't like it, you don't have to worry about it. But if you want it, there's a level you can get. And we need to do that. But we also need to recognize that if it impacts emergency responders, especially our men and women who wear the badge, we need to know where they are, which was always the intent, which is why I shared it with them first. There was a mistake made. They got it wrong. It is what it is. We're now looking at, is there a compromise? Because in fairness, to Delawareans who would enjoy that, who don't want to go doctor shop, right? They don't want to go out and convince a doctor that they have some sort of ailment that requires tint. They just want to have that freedom of choice. I think they're out there. They want that. And this is done in many other places, other states. And so it's not like we're going out on a limb and saying, hey, let's allow tint and put people at risk. No. We've already told our men and women, the police officers, we started out willing to listen to you. We remain willing to listen to you. We're just optimistic maybe there's a place we can land that isn't 35. Maybe it's 50.
Right. And I did speak with actually the representative for the DSP just before coming in here today. And He actually had a piece of window tint with him that he was, shopping around, showing, leadership to see if they would support something in the middle. So I think we're going to be able to come to a good compromise on that. Okay. But I just wanted to update people since we talked about it last week.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nuclear Energy Task Force. We also talked about this a little last week, but since then, I've talked about Martin Willis a couple times. He is Governor Meyer's appointee to that task force, and I really, he's very entertaining to watch. He's been also going around to a lot of like the nuclear task force meetings throughout the country. Kind of, he really has his finger on the pulse of what other states are doing.
Is he based here?
He is. I think he's up in Wilmington.
Okay.
Boilermakers. I think he works for them.
Right. Oh yeah, Boilermaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he had made a post on Facebook about how Delaware, if Delaware does not pass something dealing with nuclear energy before we end on June 30th, that Delaware is going to be light years behind every other state. And we aren't going to pass anything before
because
then.
Other states are already moving
are
forward.
Ahead, right?
Yeah.
He said we're way far behind. Nobody wants to move, and they made that. I mean, he spoke up at the last meeting and said he wants to move, and he was told very nicely, "No, we're moving slow, and that's the pace we're gonna continue to move." Okay. In talking about energy, Senator Hawker, when we come back, he has actually asked to have SB 65 moved for when we come back from Easter break. And that bill terminates Delaware from RGGI.
Okay.
So I thought what was interesting is whenever we do a bill, if there's any kind of physical impact or fiscal note attached to the bill, the Comptroller General sends it up to us. So they sent it up. And I thought it was very interesting to see these numbers because they're higher than what I thought. So recent deposits of RGGI proceeds to Delaware. This is basically what the electric, or who would be paying these funds? I guess like the fossil fuel plants and
anybody that puts
that
carbon
creates emissions
into the atmosphere.
Right.
So not just electric, any type of manufacturing, anybody that does that type of thing.
And in turn, this money is then in turn sent down to the ratepayer who has to pay these. So I just want to kind of give you 2022 to 2025 what the numbers are. In 2022, it was $36,900,000. 2023, $37,940,000. 2024, $57,444,000, and last year, 2025, $59,646,000 in 1 year was paid in RGGI proceeds. And I don't think it's a coincidence that our electric bills have doubled over the last couple of years, and so have these numbers.
Yeah,
I mean, you just look at the jump from 23 to 24. It was a $20 million, $19.5 million increase, and that is about when we started seeing, granted, it was cold past couple winters, but last winter was when we really saw those jump in electric rates.
So, is there a breakout, or do they have a breakout as what sector those come from? Is it, are they from manufacturing versus power versus?
They don't have it broken down. It's it's just all allowances.
And then what happens to that money? Where's it go?
So 65% of it goes to the Sustainable Energy Utility, which you can talk about maybe after this, because I don't know if people know what that is. 15% to the LIHEAP, which is a low-income program, people that need help with their bill. 10% to greenhouse gas reduction projects, and 10% to implement the cap-and-trade program and monitor emissions and expenses.
So the Energize Delaware program, that is the program that allows people to have the energy audits on their homes free of charge. They'll do some grants for things like window replacements. They'll give you some money to help with that. Some other insulation in your house if it's needed, insulation below floor, up in your ceiling, things like that. But that's a boatload of money.
Yes, it is. I mean, you add those together for those 4 years.
Wow.
That is an insane amount of money. I'd like to know how much is just sitting there that's not being spent. How can you spend it? And you can do all the energy audits you want. But what if people decide not to move forward to make any corrections?
Exactly.
It's just this is just. I'm
now,
sorry.
Let
this
me
is
ask you this:
criminal.
we've asked for that information. How much is sitting there? Correct.
Yes, I've asked
and
for.
have they responded? How much has been used?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Now this here is the SEU. I've asked for the Green Energy Fund. The Green Energy Fund comes from that DENREC manages that. Who manages the SEU? Do you know? DENREC doesn't manage that, right? Isn't it kind of like
I think it is kind of a branch off of DENREC.
Yeah, it's always been very confusing to me how that works and who administers it.
I asked DENREC during the Joint Finance Committee. I was very direct with him. I said, acknowledging Reggie, acknowledging the compliance tax that Delmarva Power pays, all that, and the money they collected. And I knew the total. I didn't know the most recent years. And what I said to him was, do you have the power if we wanted to? Could we just stop with all the 4 or 5 bullets that it goes to and just say we're going to give it back to ratepayers? We're going to set up a program. We're going to expand the eligibility, and we're just going to start giving it back. And I said, because you got people that are looking at the reality of losing a home based on a bill, right? And they said they could. First they said they could, and I appreciate that. But then they said they shouldn't, because what they see really is what they call the cheapest energy is the energy you never use. And so that's why we want to insulate homes, so we're not using as much energy. And we need to bring more energy online. And I said, I get all of that. But we are in an emergency situation right now. We need to take care of those Delawareans that are hurting, not just at the lowest level, but at the lower, middle, upper, right? Right now, that's including those folks, while we are coming up with a robust plan to bring more energy online. That's what we need to do.
This conversation reminds me actually of a text. I got a phone call last night and a text today from a constituent that has a car dealership. They, of course, had to install a level 3 charger at their car dealership, just because, which cost them about $500,000.
Sure.
They had a vehicle, a fully electric vehicle with a 100 kilowatt battery. They used 93 kilowatts to charge it. Now, normally they get a $132 bill a month just to have that service. That's no usage, no charging of anything, $132. They only used it once to charge that Wagoneer. How much do you think the electric bill for that month was?
No idea.
I don't know.
Spitball. Give me a guess.
Double.
$550.
$550. What do you think?
$551.
Love
This
it.
isn't the prices right.
$1,661.29.
How's
Yeah,
that
but
possible?
yet they want all of us to buy electric vehicles
Yes.
and charge them at our homes.
I was
Exactly.
closest without going over.
You
right?
were the closest without going over.
Yeah.
1661.29.
Wow.
That's insane.
So I've actually got the power company looking into that, because that's insane.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, this year, this $59 million that was paid to Reggie, this is just a little bit. This doesn't include the ACP payments.
Yeah.
You know, how much was that last year? 22 million, something like that.
I forget 40. It's been about 40 million over the
Yeah.
past 3 years. So
That's the compliance
I think,
tax.
yeah, I think
Right.
it's 14.
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah, and I brought that up again. It's
Right.
again, there's two things we got to look at. Number one, you've got to look at creating more energy. You got to look at the current money you have and deal with the emergency you're dealing with, and then try to build long term. It's amazing. One of the things they say about nuclear is, it's too far out in the distance. Well, sooner or later we're going to be out in the distance.
gonna be
We've
there.
got to get there. We've got to do initial work and look long term. It's got to be diversity. We've got to look at gas. We've got to look at restarting coal. When you look at the history of Indian River plants, that Indian River plant, they keep arguing, well, they weren't economically viable. Well, we made it so that they
Yeah,
weren't.
well, this
Now,
is why.
Now they are. now they are economically viable because of the cost of energy.
Right.
And they were saying that we weren't.
Yeah.
They weren't going to be, and so that's why they got out. And I argued that that's not accurate. But this green utopia that we have tried to create, as good as it sounds, they have to be able to acknowledge it's not going to work unless we take a redirect on it, figure this dang thing out. And that compliance tax, I said that there's supply. You've got to build generation. But also one of the challenges in our bills is the existing infrastructure and capacity challenges that we have. And we could actually, you could fund and improve, in real time, that would have a positive impact on the bills. So there's some things you can do.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
But saying it's too far out ain't going to do anything.
No. I mean, we've got a plan for it. Anything is going to be too far out. Even the wind farm, the offshore wind farm, it's far out. It's not going to happen next week, next month, next year. It is a few years out for full build.
This is going to get worse.
With some of these advocacy groups, though, and some of these people who claim to be experts, which don't even get me started on what makes these people experts, because I've looked at I don't know what makes them experts. I'll just say that.
Well, they're not experts. but
Exactly.
go ahead.
But they're against nuclear. They're against anything, it seems, but wind and solar. It seems like that's the only two options they want to look at. And there's one particular person on this task force, and that's all she keeps coming back to is offshore wind.
Yeah.
It's like that's not what we're here to discuss. Yes, that's a great supplement that we can use. We've got to think bigger. We've got to think much more diverse than wind and solar.
But you ask the true experts in the industry, in the electricity and the power industry. Yeah, they're fine with wind. They're fine with solar. But you still have to have something to back that up.
Sure.
You've still got to have that base load generation out there. And the best base load generation right now, dollar for dollar, is nuclear. Second is gas.
Right.
Yeah.
Could they just actually fire up the Indian Power Plant tomorrow in theory?
No, because they've scavenged a lot of the parts and sent them out to other plants that are still operational.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, it would be problematic for them to refire those boilers and those generators right now, spin them back up.
Okay.
But it was problematic when it was a piece of dirt and they made it, right? So again, nobody says, do you want to? We have to say, do you have to?
I think, well, we are at a point
we're
where
at the point where we have to.
That's what I mean. You have to now. And if you have to, then what does it include? I know Delmarva Power would like to be a generator of energy. And I know that eventually that would contribute to the impacts that they're having on high bills.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and Delmarva Power is front and center as the bad guy under this administration. But in fairness to them, they're living under the rules and regs that were provided to them.
Right.
Right? So they're challenged to deal with this crisis not created by them, right? But they're living in it. And, you know, I'm not saying they're the angel in the room, but they're also not the bad guy.
Right.
You know?
But when you give them mandates that they have to abide by, they can't just magically make it happen.
Right.
That's
right.
Business, if there's a
right.
cost.
Yeah.
And that it just drives me crazy, the lack of understanding
Right.
when it comes to that. All right. HB 317, this is actually you as well, and Representative Shoup. This was introduced on Tuesday, assigned to House Elections and Government Affairs. Not sure when it's going to be in committee, but what this does, we adopted automatic voter registration, 2 years ago? Something like that.
22, yeah.
22.
Yeah.
So
That's when it passed, but yeah.
Yeah. So this bill will require a full audit of all automatic voter registration created, from 2021 till now, basically to confirm eligibility, citizenship, residency, age, all of that. Requires ongoing audits. And the reason that this bill came forth was because I'm sure if you've watched Representatives, Shoup's videos, you've seen him talk about this. He had a constituent in his district who received a letter from DMV. She went to get her license renewed. They registered her. She's a green card. She's a legal citizen, but she's a green card.
She's a legal resident.
Legal resident. Sorry, yes, legal resident. She has a green card.
So she's not a citizen.
But she's not a citizen, so she cannot vote legally. But she received something saying, you've been registered, you're now a voter. So when Representative Shoup reached out to the Department of Elections to say, hey, this lady's not registered. She did the right, or legal citizen. She did the right thing. She reached out. She knew this was wrong. Like, help me, please get this figured out. So the Department of Elections sent her a letter, and I just want to read you what the Department of Elections letter said, because I found this to be very problematic. It says, as you recall, you received a mailing confirming your voter registration through the AVR program, which includes a reply form that permits you to notify the department that you are not eligible to be registered to vote and instructs the department to cancel your voter registration. If you are not a U.S. citizen and have not already done so, please complete and return this form to cancel your registration at your earliest convenience. So they know that she's not a legal citizen here to vote, and yet they're not going to remove her. She has to take care of removing herself. So how many people do you think are getting letters saying
too many.
You're registered to vote?
One is one too many.
Exactly.
Right.
But
again,
why
that's
would
part of the problem with this process that we had when this bill was brought to us. I mean, there are instances where there's a clerical mistake that's made at DMV. Okay. And somebody, checks the checkbox that shouldn't be checked, and now they're a registered voter. But this whole automatic voter registration, it used to be an opt-in. If you wanted to register to vote, you could do a little checkbox on the little pin pad, and you were registered to vote.
Right.
Now we just do it. And there are people out there that do not want to be registered to vote. Some for religious reasons. Some because they're not citizens. Some because they're scared because of they changed their address. There's family issues. They don't want their address to be public, in the voter rolls, especially in the domestic violence
I never
arena.
even thought about that being an issue.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's lots of reasons why somebody does not want to be automatically registered. The system, you can't say at DMV, don't do it. It will automatically do it. You've got to wait for that postcard to come in and then say, take me out. And that's a big problem.
Right, and even after they know you should not be registered to vote, they still say, "Sorry, you're still registered until you do what you need to do to unregister." That is crazy to me.
That is. Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what happens with this bill.
I remember Senator Wilson, probably might have been that same year, I don't know, 21, 22, had the resolution would have asked Department of Elections to go through the voter rolls and clean out instances probably similar to that. I mean, we didn't have the automatic voter registration on the books yet, but just clean it out.
Right.
But
And
I guess
it
my
failed
question is,
along partisan lines.
Yeah.
but I'm wondering, how will they do that? I mean, what information do they have that would say, oh, wait, this is not a citizen, they shouldn't be voting?
Well, I know, at least in the context of that, was whether an individual is still alive or not.
Right.
It's bigger than that because just in my family alone, my son was registered to vote under both my address and when he went to Newark to college and moved up there, he was also registered under that address. 2 different ones, same name. My nephew, same thing. He was, and I don't want to say his name, but he was registered under his first name, last name, and then somehow they registered with it reversed with last name and then first name, and he had 2 voting registration cards come in the mail under both. And when I looked him up, because we can look him up in a program we have here, he's in there twice. So there is a major
so how
problem.
long ago was that reported? Or did they report it?
I don't know. I told my sister about it. I'm assuming they reported it.
How about your sons?
Yeah, we took care of it right away.
Okay. All right. So
But again, we're proactive. We're looking into it.
Right.
People, I mean, other people don't just have access like I do to look into, you know, the voter registration system and see what's registered. I do think that there's a problem that needs to be fixed.
So, you know, I'll jump in real quick and those listening. Look, this debate isn't, there were stolen elections in Delaware.
Right.
This is just simply, does it make sense, what you're saying? Does it make sense to look at what we're doing to make sure that it's clean?
Yep.
Because when it comes to voting in Delaware and across this country, that's one thing that is not partisan. You know, that's one thing that we all agree on, that we want a free but fair election, one that is legit.
And we want the voter rolls to be correct.
And that's how you do it.
Yeah.
You have to be eligible to vote. So moving a bill forward like this isn't saying, oh, there you go, you think the elections aren't real or fake, stolen, whatever. No, we're just saying that these are instances where this is clear and obvious, and we would like a process that ensures that that's not an option.
It's
That's
auditing
all
the
it
data.
is.
It's auditing the data.
It is. It makes total sense. Yeah. And for folks to say that it's something other than that, it's like when you require documentation. Now, you know, I definitely have supported some legislation that has somewhat modernized, you know, the options for voting, the availability, early voting, those kinds of things. But I've also supported, along with that, strengthening the assurances that our voter rolls are clean and that the individual presenting during election day is who they say they are, and not just expecting that's true. And I think that's a fair balance that most folks, you know, look, can't go to the bank without an ID even though they know me.
Yeah.
You know? But, you know, I can walk in the door and vote with a utility bill. It doesn't make sense to people.
Right.
Right?
Yep. So we'll keep everyone posted on that. And hopefully it'll have a committee meeting soon. I don't think we'll see it before break. We'll probably see it after break. Lastly, the only thing I have, I thought maybe you'd want to talk about your League of Women Voter discussion today.
You sure?
He was a panel on.
Now, you know what? I will say this, and I think you may have been invited or gone to before. Here's what I'll tell you. It's a great experience, right? Because I do enjoy going into a room full of, you know, ladies who maybe don't think like I do. Not all, but many, right? And they know it, I know it, but it's a good relationship. If you're going to convey your message and the thoughts that you have on issues, you have to go where people are that don't agree with you. If you stay in your silo, in your safe space, you'll find plenty of people that agree with you, but you didn't move the needle. So I enjoyed the opportunity, the invitation. They're very nice ladies. That we had a wonderful conversation, even when we didn't agree. And there were times when we didn't agree. We talked about immigration. It was challenging. We talked about police reform. It was challenging. There was talks about, obviously, voter accessibility. There were things that we agreed on. There were things, I think, that I was able to present to the group from a Republican perspective that they appreciated.
Right.
Because they don't hear that. That's why you go.
Right, exactly.
That's why you go. right?
Yep,
So
go
I
and
enjoyed
answer
it.
the tough questions.
Yeah, I mean, they immigration and go ahead.
Yeah, they are a great group. I was going to go to that this morning. Had something in district this morning, but to be able to open up that dialogue to the other
Exactly.
side, and hopefully gain understanding. You understand what their point of view is. They understand why you have your point of view. If we can come to a point of understanding, not necessarily agreeing with each other, but of understanding each other, that makes a big difference.
It was, I don't know if you, but it was there was a question asked towards the end, and so were there. Three of my colleagues were next to me, all from the controlling side, as I like to call it lovingly. But they're nice folks, but clearly we didn't agree. But it was an ask about police reform and all those, and of course they're listing when police show up and when they do wrong and all those things that are highlighted, right? Rightfully so at times. But when it was my turn to speak, I made it a point to first state by saying, thank God we have the men and women who wear that badge willing to go into harm's way. And for the vast, vast majority of folks who do that every day on a regular basis, free from any conflict, thank you. And, speaking to those small situations where this does occur, you have to appreciate something. That officer's been called into a situation, an emergency situation, where maybe someone's at their worst and they have to be their best. They have to be perfect. And if by chance it gets out of hand, there's no way to do that well. It looks bad, right? When you have to subdue, hold, stop a threat, it never looks good.
Right.
And so that's the challenge. If you're trying to dissect that in slow motion, it's difficult, And then on top of that, if you're trying to dissect maybe just actions in general, if I get arrested and I don't like it, and maybe I won't, if I'm allowed to, kind of whimsically lodge a complaint, that's the key. Just write some stuff down on paper. There has to be a vetting process to that. It can't then become a hardened complaint that has to go to an elevated commission of sorts, right? That's the concern you have, because then, somebody
Then
with
you get
emotion.
so many things that are tied up in that process.
Yeah.
And police work isn't the NFL, where you can take a timeout, you can review all the camera angles, and then the ref overturns the call that was made.
Yes.
A lot of times these are split-second life and death decisions that. Look, attorneys and everybody's going to look, everybody that's got a cell phone out there, they're going to look at different angles. They're going to look at dash cams versus body cams versus other officers' body cams. And you might see something different. But what you always have to remember is, what was the state of mind at the officer at the time this was happening with the information that they had?
Exactly.
And you're talking about a split second, less than a second to make a decision whether or not they're going to take an action that could possibly end somebody's life, or if they don't take that action, somebody's going to go and visit their family saying, we're sorry that your husband or your wife passed away.
Yes.
So we got to give them a lot of respect for the decisions that they have to make in such a short amount of time. And do they get it right all the time? Absolutely not. We're human. We can't get it right all the time. But you have to respect the work that they do and the decisions that they have to make in that blink of an eye amount of time, and sometimes they get it wrong. Sometimes they get it wrong.
And it's important, right? That was a comment made. It was by one of my colleagues sitting with me. He said, I'm not going to apologize for wanting to hold the police accountable. We have good and bad, doctors, we have good and bad teachers, we have this and that, and we're allowed to challenge them, and we should be challenging them when they get it wrong. And I said the difference is, as a teacher, if I get it wrong, we can come back to that. If that officer gets it wrong, he may not go home, she may not go home. There's a different level to this. As a ref, I used to coach the young guys up, and I would tell them, I'd say, as an official making a call in a heated situation, try to be on time. And if you can't be on time, be late. It's better to be late than early. It's the exact opposite with policing. You can't be late. And that's the problem. You want officers to be late so they can be perfect. And I said this to the room, to the ladies. I said, I'm sure that all of you have seen those tragic times when a police officer did wrong, got it wrong. It was on tape, right? And they were held accountable. And if they weren't, bring me the tape where they weren't, because I'd like to know.
Right.
But I would ask you, if you've watched that tape, how many times have you watched a tape of an officer who was late, who tried to do the extras to diffuse and to downplay and ended up losing their life because of that? They showed up on a routine traffic stop and tried to do everything they could unknowingly, like you say, not knowing that the whole time that individual was seeking to end their life. You have to see that film also if you're going to operate in this space.
Yep. Agree. We much appreciation to those. I had said that legislators should have to do some type of business internship, to make laws that affect businesses. Maybe they should also do some type of 2-month long ride along with state police to see the dangers up close.
I've seen legislators, city council people that go into these situations, these simulations where they're playing the role of a police officer, and one of the police officers is playing the role of a criminal, and they have to make that decision in real time. And 9 times out of 10, the elected official makes the wrong decision.
That's interesting. We should
do that.
In all seriousness, we should do that.
I
here.
agree.
We should do that here.
Yeah,
that would
it's
be
these scenarios that they put out,
right.
that you put these people, these regular people, into these scenarios and see how they react. And most of the time, they're doing worse than the police officers are, and it should be, because they're trained.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether it's reffing there, and I'll use reffing as an example, by no means is it the same as an officer wearing a badge and a gun going into a situation. But if you don't appreciate pressure, right, and how pressure impacts a situation, right, and I don't know how to explain it to you until you've been there.
Adrenaline.
Yeah,
adrenaline changes things.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Well, that's all that I have on my paper today, unless you all have anything else you'd like to discuss.
No, I was going to say we could do a little bit of house cleaning. If you hear that bell throughout this episode, it's because the House of Representatives is getting ready to go in.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. Explain the bell situation.
Oh,
to
yeah.
people.
So if you're here in Legislative Hall, or if you're listening to this exact episode of the podcast, if you hear 2 bells, that means it is time for the House of Representatives to reconvene down in the House chamber. 1 bell is for the Senate.
Means they need to start making their way down to the floor.
The Senate, they give us 15 minutes. The House, they get like an hour and a half.
It
seems
seems that
like-
way.
yeah.
It
takes
seems
them a lot longer. In their
Get
defense, they have
everybody
41
together.
members.
There's a lot more chickens on that side of the fence.
Well, then they should. They got twice the amount. That we should give them
Yes, they do.
30 minutes instead of.
I'm sorry. You know what time it starts. You should be on the floor the time
I
it
don't
starts.
disagree.
Well, but
that.
see,
Sorry.
starting session is one thing. This is so the way the Senate works. Republican, our caucus is before we go on the floor at 2:00. We go on the floor, and then once we're done, the Democratic caucus caucuses over on the Senate side. Over on the House side, they go in at 2-ish, and then they'll run some resolutions, things like that, and then they'll caucus before they run the bills. And their caucus, there's no real idea of how long that's going to be. So sometimes it's relatively soon. It's 4:00. It's coming up on 4:00 now. And so they may have been caucusing for an hour and a half or so. You never know how long. So I kind of like the way we do it on our side.
I do too.
It's very predictable.
We used to
now.
do it that way.
We used to.
I remember sitting here for hours.
And I remember
waiting.
talking to Senator McBride about that.
Yeah.
And trying to push him to the Dave McBride. Yes, Dave
because
McBride.
we had to.
Former pro tem. And he thought it was a pretty good idea. And we started doing that, and it works well.
Oh, I didn't know we did that under him. I thought it was Senator Townsend and Sokola that did that.
It was McBride who started.
Well, if I remember, so our caucus, at least as long as I've worked here, has always met prior to session on Tuesday and Thursday. But I do remember this one instance where we broke for their party caucus, and I think I don't think I'm exaggerating, it was like 3 hours.
Yes.
It was some insane amount of time.
Now, sometimes in June that'll happen.
Yeah.
Over here too.
Yeah.
If there's something controversial, they might have to break for a little bit to do some planning or discussion within the caucus. But I'd say last year that maybe happened once or twice.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was shortly after that one instance that
yeah.
leadership went to their leadership. It was like, come on,
guys.
And I think it did change shortly after that. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
change for the better.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think the employees like it.
Yeah.
The staff definitely likes it
It's
because
easier
they've
to
got.
plan.
It is. It really is.
I wouldn't do it. That would be awful.
Yeah.
It
I
was
mean, look,
awful.
especially when you
It
have
was.
members that have kids, families.
Right.
They need to get home. They'd like to get home to a baseball game. See a grandkids or a kid's baseball game or something like
Leaving
that.
and coming back.
Yeah.
Probably what I'd be doing. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But no, yes, good discussion about the bells. Yeah.
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 House cleaning item number 2. We had some feedback following the last episode. I think we kind of touched on it at the very
We're
beginning.
in trouble, Eric.
We touched on it a little bit at the beginning, but if I talk over here, it's kind of hard.
Yeah,
to
that's
hear.
why I've been telling Deanna microphone.
Yeah, that's why I kept. That's why I
So if
kept
you
getting
see me,
scolded today.
kind of pointing a little bit, or that was all.
We need a little remote buzzer. For you.
But
There's
see,
only
to-
so much editing I can do.
to our credit, we have to look
Yeah.
while we're talking.
You know
You
what?
just
Well-
sit there like this.
Hey, guess
So you
what?
don't have to
next,
move your
next-
head.
Next week, I'll sit over there.
No, because I'm not doing the wide angle on the end.
The wide angle.
Eric, you're over here then.
Yeah, I need wide.
House cleaning item number 3, the wide angle.
wide
lens.
angle, yeah.
I'm wide anyway, but it. Oh yes, yeah.
Peyton says she's skinnier than she looks on camera.
Yes,
Yeah.
Peyton did
Peyton
not
was-
like the episode she
No,
was
'cause
in.
she was. You were at the very edge.
Yeah, these two gentlemen are much more svelte than they appear on camera.
Svelte.
I like
Yes.
the spell.
That's a good word.
Uh-huh, it is.
Spell.
Yeah, thank you.
Lean and
Great
mean.
word.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
That's Yeah.
Word of the day. Maybe that'll be the episode title.
Okay, I love
Episode
it.
23, svelte.
Okay, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
You go with that.
All right, that's all we have,
Yeah,
and
so
next
we'll be
week
back.
will be our last one for, and then we'll go on Easter break.
Easter
break.
for 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and then what is the schedule? Then another 3 weeks before markup.
Yeah, I don't think we're in any more than 3 weeks continuously
yeah.
this whole year.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
Like in
it keeps
June?
temperatures a little cooler. I think
what is
Yeah, we had
cooler?
temperatures. It brings down the temperature of the room.
I
Okay.
think it was my first year, the second year, we had like a 5-week stretch.
Yes,
I know
that.
that's
Terrible.
Yes, I'm still
Yeah.
traumatized from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone
But you
gets
know,
yelling at
you
each
know,
other.
what'd be interesting in the next one is to look at the total number of pieces of legislation
Mhm.
up till now, or up and let's go next week, but up until now, if you want, that have been worked past the Senate, compared to what'll happen in a week stretch in June.
yes,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
we
that
have like
makes-
The weekly activity report.
It's just ridiculous.
like
yes.
2 or 3 bills for the first 5 months,
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
and then
And then it's going to hit.
20, and then
And that makes no sense to anybody who believes in transparency and democracy and process. And that's-
Deliberative process. How can you be a
Deliberative.
true deliberative process if you've got a 40-item agenda?
Which is why I say, with a little tongue in cheek,
Process
it's
matters.
not the minority party or the majority party, it's the controlling party.
Yeah. And process matters.
And process matters.
that's Eric's favorite phrase.
I say it all the time.
Yes, you do.
Words matter, and so does process.
Yep.
You know?
All right.
All right.
We'll see you next week then.
Yep. See ya.
Peace.
Okay.
For the Record is recorded and produced by the Delaware State Senate Republican Caucus. You can find us with the DE Senate GOP handle on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Threads. Discover more about our caucus on our website, senategop.delaware.gov.